We're about to go green.
Welcome to episode 62 of Unverified. A bit of a different setting this week. Obviously, it is Thursday of Markham Race Week, and we don't have a David Land this week, unfortunately. It's just me this week. Well, we have a guest. We have a second host this week that I'll introduce in a bit. But no David. We got to Tuesday. Well, let's go back to last week, because obviously it's been 2 weeks since we've had a show. So we were planning on, honestly, we were going to probably take the week off last week anyways. And then we thought about doing a show when the IR28 validation testing was moved to Tuesday, which was a bit of a circumstance that nobody could have seen coming, because a test going from 5 to 7 on a Tuesday is never happened before. So we thought about it, and then, we realized that we'd have to push it back an hour. And then, we had our own content that we wanted to make. We had our own stuff we wanted to do. So we decided, just to push it. The test wasn't enough to really do, the Tuesday test wasn't enough that happened. There wasn't enough that happened really to give us a reason to do a whole show on it. We've been in busy weeks, and you go to this week on Tuesday. We probably would have been able to cram it in. I was going to have David do it, even if I was in the car driving. But David's flight from Portland then got delayed he didn't get home until some point late Tuesday. And then he had a day at home, and now he's flying to Markham. So I was busy yesterday. I was also on the drive home from Lorraine. I spent 2 days. I spent the weekend in Cincinnati for the United States Pro Kart Series round number 3. And then we drove up to Lorraine, Ohio Kartplex. I got to drive some go-karts for 2 days on Monday, Tuesday. And then, I kind of had a day yesterday to recoup and revive myself, and now David's in Markham. So I figured, instead of going 3 weeks without a show, without talking about IndyCar and what is a pretty unprecedented 5-week stretch, or 4 or 5, it's 5 races in 4 weeks in an unprecedented stretch in IndyCar racing through August. I felt like it would have been a disservice to just go 3 weeks without this show. Obviously David and I go through a busy schedule right now, we're aiming to go live next Tuesday, but of course we'll keep you updated. Make sure you check out you keep an eye on the community tab on our YouTube channel, because that is most likely where I'm going to be posting the updates, and then I'll probably put them on our Instagram page. I saw someone on there was some people on Twitter who were, who didn't get the memo from YouTube or Instagram. I just want to put a shout out there that's usually we're going to find out on the day if we're going to be able to do it. Because obviously, we want to do the show each week. We've made the commitment to go every Tuesday, but every week in the busy world of motorsports doesn't always work out that way. So without further ado, let's get into the show. I want to introduce one of my friends, one of my pals that I've worked alongside for the better part of a year now. We've been friends for quite a while. I've been wanting to introduce you guys on the either David Land channel or in show form for a while. Welcome to Unverified, Mr. Nate Dean, the senior content manager of Kart Chaser. So Nate, real quick, so you actually were not that big of an IndyCar fan, and then you spent enough time around me. So kind of explain that. You've kind of been in this IndyCar kind of wave this past year.
Yeah, I mean, hanging around you and David obviously will do that to a man. But originally started off with like watching Formula One and whatnot, and finally started to get back into IndyCar, and just it was never really got that big into it. But I think having your guys's behind the scene access and just more teams and drivers showing behind the
Mhm.
curtain definitely helps me. Definitely helps a lot of other people who are so used to or used to watching racing overseas get into this.
Yeah, for sure. I think the the marketing side and kind of what we've been able to show on social media has definitely gotten better over the last 2 years. Kind of hits a front of what F1 is able to do, right? And even Formula E, man. Which I mean, I'm gonna speaking of Formula E, uh, let's get into what we've missed through the last couple of weeks since Unverified, the last episode. Obviously, there was the IR28 validation testing. Like I said, not much happened. There was probably about 10 laps, but on a personal note, that was the first time that I got to see the car in person driving. And I got to see all but like 2 laps of real like hardcore driving. There was like the last lap Pillow did, which was a minute 10.5. You could see him go down the front straight, start warming up the tires before, like he did a full prep lap before it. So he did get like one quali lap in that test on Tuesday. But on a personal note, there's really nothing to note on the car except for like seeing it on track. It is a 2.4 liter mule engine without the hybrid. So like that's gonna change things when they actually start doing actual testing. But um, yeah, on a personal note, I would say I came out of the test of my first time seeing the car a little disappointed. But you also, and for anyone else who feels that way after the testing and seeing it on track, I will just say to remember that the validation testing is probably the earliest testing we've actually seen a series or manufacturer go live with in front of media and people, probably ever. Like, I mean, it's pretty like this is the testing that you would normally be getting camouflage photos of, right? Like if it was a new GT car or prototype. Like we really got to see this car in the earliest phases of testing. Um, so that'll change a bit when we get the actual engines in the cars and the Honda and Chevrolet start having testing uh, against each other and the teams as well. But yeah, I mean, think about it from a perspective of the spec dampers and kind of just I'm not a big fan, I think, of the arrow behind the front tires. And in person, that kind of brought me down a little bit. But yeah, I'm really excited that we have something going on with a new car. I got to see it on track because I was, we were covering a race the weekend of the test in Newcastle. So yeah, Nate, what are your thoughts on the new car?
I mean, obviously needed, but like from a aesthetic standpoint, I think it's really good looking. Obviously there's going to be some like Formula One elements, and that's been one of the biggest talking points on this. If it looks like a Formula One car from a couple years ago, which yeah, if you go back to like what you guys were saying with the DW12, the initial phase that Dan Weldon was testing, that looked exactly like a GP2 car from that era. The front wing might have been taken off it completely because it looks verbatim like it. But I mean, there's still um, a couple of things that like I'm not a huge fan of. Like Kyle, like you said, the aero appendage behind the front wheel, it's a little interesting. There was some photos during the rain testing of water hitting that, and for a car that's designed to cancel out a lot of the dirty air, um, the water splash went like directly up in the air, which if that's air being hitting that, making a little bit more dirty air, maybe, not sure. Obviously, I'm not an aerodynamicist, just speculating there. But I mean, to talk about the point with the testing, I'm like, these rollout tests for prototypes for GTs are no one is allowed in. There's a couple of blurry photos that show absolutely nothing. So for IndyCar and Delara to roll this thing out and allow people there from pretty much day one was a huge risk from them, and it worked. And that's a kudos to everyone who has put a hand on that car, because for it to have some really decent running on its first miles on track is incredibly impressive.
Yeah, and I think my other take, I mean, I know I spent that whole test like in a battle with myself because I was like, man, like I should be way more excited about this. I should be like, this is like the thing we've been waiting for. And I definitely like I am a bit negative. I know that. I don't want to yuck anybody's yum. But I think once we get into oval testing, which allegedly the first test is supposed to happen in September. I think I'm that energy of having a new car and like the testing being real and cool things happening will I'll start to feel that a little bit more. But like we said, yeah, it's so early. It's so early in the testing process. Um, and yeah, this is definitely when in a normal, and shout out to IndyCar for letting the media out. Um, What's up, Boris? Sorry, audio viewers. Everyone else just saw that. But shout out to IndyCar for letting the media out there and letting us see that test. There was a moment where Alex Palou left the pit lane and then immediately stopped and they put it back in the garage. And we're all just looking at each other like, uh-oh. Well, that's testing. But like that's the thing that like normally would deter a series or a manufacturer from us seeing testing. But I think it just did so much good for the sport. For David, I wish he was here to speak on it, but like for David to have like 8 videos or whatever he did over the last week of the IR28, like, and they did exactly what what we wanted them to do, which was in our little like quote unquote summer break, our 3-week end of July break. Like that was when they let them go and just let it happen. Gave us something to talk about. And shout out to David who does this for a living. This is his job. He had something to add to the paycheck. Like like that's what you have to do in these times. When there's a little bit of a break and especially when we're coming up to a 6th month off season. People who cover the sport. Thank you, IndyCar, for giving us something to talk about, right? Moving on from IR28 validation testing, we got 2 more notes of things happening in the world of IndyCar. In driver signing terms, Marcus Ericsson was signed for 2027. That's not a surprise. It's not a surprise, but it was kind of a surprise in the sense of in the beginning of the year, he was kind of in this head-to-head battle with Dennis Hauger. But I think if you just look at the first 5 races, like all the way up to Indy alone, a pole in Arlington, multiple top 5s, leading laps, I feel like he earned that contract pretty early in the season this year. It is interesting that they only signed him for 1 year, that he's not signed for 2028. And that's something that we've talked about a lot in the show is I think a lot of these teams might wait for 2020, the IR28 testing to really go full swing because it is a bit of a risk unless your guy is like a Pato or a Kirkwood, like someone that is a proven race. Like, I mean, obviously Marcus Ericsson's a Indy 500 champion, but like, unless you have that guy that you're certain about is your future in the new chassis, I mean, it's signing someone out for beyond 2027 is a bit of a risk unless he's your like anchor guy on your team, right? So giving Marcus a 1-year deal is interesting. The fact that they did it, that's what happened. That's kind of what I said they should do a while ago because I don't know if Dennis Hauger's ready yet. Now, granted, he's in a coin car, but I don't know if he's ready for that. As far as rumors and speculation goes, Kyle Collette, I think it was stated in one of the Brazilian outlets that Meyershank Racing is no longer looking at him, which is interesting because Kyle, I think, has had a very tumultuous summer. Think about the mistake in Nashville that put him in the wall. We think about how impressive he was in the ovals and at Indy, but he did finish the race in the wall. And then on the road courses, it's been like decent, but not much really to talk about on the Kyle Collette front. As far as other drivers go, it's been pretty much not confirmed, but it's pretty much The thought right now among the paddock that Christian Lundgaard is going to go to the 9 car and replace Scott Dixon. Um, Marshall Pruitt wrote in Racer that um, they are in like kind of the final phases of Lundgaard being in that 9 car, where meetings are happening with PNC Bank to make sure that that relationship is a go. And Rinus VeeKay, it seems like he's going to be making his return to Hollinger Racing. And I say Hollinger Racing not lightly, because the big rumors and speculation have been that team is going to no longer be Junco's Hollinger Racing, and it will just be Hollinger. We'll have to wait and see on that. There might be a little divorce happening there. But outside of that, on the driver market front, I have looked at the silly season chart, and Nolan Siegel has been talked about going to Voigt. And then, I mean, so the obvious on the David Land front, if you watch David Land on YouTube, is that Graham kind of spilled the beans on Ryan Reinbold, definitely having a alliance with Rahal, which would, lead to them being a Honda team, or what would be absolutely, ape shit crazy is if Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan went to Chevy. So, yeah, I mean, there's either way that goes on an alliance front. I would, I think it's obviously more likely that Ryan Reinbold turns to the Honda front. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here. Nate, just give me some predictions from your end from watching all this. What's your like overhead? Where do you think people should go? What do you think's going to happen?
Putting me on the spot.
Yeah, I am.
I don't know, because it's like you and David have hit it on the head of like every episode I've been watching. It's like that makes sense. Every piece of the puzzle going where I think it should go. The Dreyer and Reinbold alliance with Rahal is interesting, especially with Rahal and that team seemingly taking a few steps forward with their program over this past season, and especially on short ovals as well. That's going to help a team that's only been used to running one race a year get acclimatized to running a vast calendar of tracks that are so different from IMS between all the street courses, short ovals, natural terrain road courses, and everything. But it's looking at the 2027 sheet of teams and drivers who have signed and seeing all the TVAs right now is a little daunting. But I think there'll be a couple surprises probably here and there, but I think everything is most likely going to fall into place, like you guys been saying over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I think it's just out of all the openings on I mean, there's still a lot of open seats, probably more open seats than I think we've seen the last 3 to 4 seasons. And a lot of the big ones, and like the last big one is Chip Ganassi Racing, but McLaren's full, Andretti's full, Penske's full. It's really just the Meyer-Shank Racing 66 car, the 9 car Ganassi, because it's in the last stages, but PNC Bank could just say no, no, and we could see a shakeup there. We forget, I think, a lot too, that Stingray Rob and that Juncos Hollinger 77 car is also an open candidate. I don't think that Stingray Hollinger 77, I don't think that's going to continue. They've made it sound a lot in the media, if you read between the lines, that Nolan Siegel is kind of at the forefront of the pay drivers, that he has kind of shown the most competence, I would say, on the ovals, which teams like from a pay driver, because you're not going to have a bunch of crash damage. You're going to be able to actually keep the money that the driver's paying you, right? And let's be honest, like Nolan's gotten a couple top tens on road courses this year. And really the reason he's getting the boot is because he's not he's not at McLaren levels. He's not at a Aero McLaren, what you would deem as a success, right? But he hasn't ran like that bad if you're, Hollinger Racing, right? So I would say that the puzzle piece for Nolan, I think that would make the most sense in my eyes from an outside view. Haven't heard anything. It would be for him to go to Hollinger in that second car. It would help the case for them to keep Rinus VK. And yeah, the one thing I think when I look at this board, when I look at the free agents and the openings, it's probably, and I'd like to hear your opinion on this, Nate. I think the thing that makes me the most sad is it sounds like Dale Coyne Racing is getting rid, just flat getting rid and taking no extra thought on Roman Grosjean. I don't know if you're a Roman Grosjean hater or not, Nate, but like I look at his season and like I don't like top 15s, top 20s on the road courses hasn't been great, but like the guy just finished his first Indy five, like I think properly finished the 500 for the first time and finished like seventh in a coin car. And I don't know. I just feel like you should, if you're gonna, instead of shaking up the boat, right? Instead of, for the first time for Dale Coyne, like I don't know a second driver you can put alongside Dennis that's not Roman Grosjean. Like in my eyes, I would look at Dale Coyne Racing and I'd say, why not just keep it the same for the first time in however long for your team, right? I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, the kind of circling back on the Ericsson point too kind of goes along with this, but how big of an asset is going to be having these ex Formula One drivers that know how to develop a chassis when
Mhm.
we get the IR28? And most of these guys that I think are in the series right now have been in IndyCar for a very long time. Obviously, have been able to find uh, tweaks and whatnot to the DW12 chassis, but not having a full new slate. So many of these drivers have come from spec racing pretty much their entire time, haven't had a lot of either Formula One experience or sports car or GTP experience, shaking down these new chassis and having that experience. So that could be huge for Grosjean because he's helped develop some very fast chassis in Formula One with Lotus and with Haas when he was with those two programs. So I th- I think yeah, he's been spotty at times throughout this season, but he's still Romain Grosjean. He's still one of the most talented drivers in this field. Uh, that's currently on the grid. So I think it would be a huge loss for that team to drop him, or really anyone else looking to put a driver in their seat not to consider Grosjean at this point.
Yeah, that's actually an incredible point to bring up. Um, I didn't even think about that in terms of like when you think about a driver like Scott Dixon and why McLaren would want to sign him. Like that's a guy who's been through how many iterations of new IndyCar chassis. Um, and Roman Grosjean, that's a great point and a great argument to make with Dale Coyne Racing is like if you are going into 2028 and let's just say like Dennis Hauger's not signed obviously for 2028 for Dale Coyne Racing, but the testing on that car is going to start next season. So out of the two drivers, wouldn't you want Roman Grosjean, who, while I like you talk about in Formula One, like you're testing and bringing in a new car every single season. Like you're talking about a guy and Marcus Ericsson the same, and a couple. I mean, like Alexander Rossi, for example, didn't run a full season in Formula One, but ran multiple seasons as a test driver for multiple Formula One teams, to where he has that experience of like, here's a new car, figure it out. That's a really great point, actually, Nate. That definitely needs to be thought about when these teams are signing new drivers and how we look at the drivers, when they're signed on what they can do, right? Like that's an excellent point. Moving on into other news, the last bit of news from the last couple of weeks we've missed is, for the first time, it's a brave new world, race fans. It's a brave new world in IndyCar. We have a schedule announcement before the season's over. Boy, oh boy. And they're doing it a bit different this year. They've announced the first 8 races, which is, it all made sense because all of it was getting leaked anyways, because the St. Petersburg date was getting announced. NASCAR just announced that, or Phoenix just announced that IndyCar was returning. I think off of like ticket, the resale, like the buy your tickets for next year. The Arlington race was out there. I think we locked down Barber. I think it was like the Barber and Detroit were like the two that really got nailed down from this announcement. But we will start the season in St. Petersburg as we always do. Then we will go back to Phoenix. And then we go to Arlington, Barber, Long Beach. The Indy Grand Prix May 15th and the 111th Indy 500 on May 30th. And the Streets of Detroit will be June 6th. And the bit of this that was also announced in the email to the media that I got is that the Indy 500 Open Test will be May 4th through 5th. So we are this much closer to a full month of May. And like, really, we do have it now. Like, we have on track activity for the Indy 500 the first week of May. And then we go into the second week on the road course and so on. Like, yeah, it's going to be packed because having the Grand Prix on the 15th is a little weird. That feels a little late in the month. And then obviously the 500 on the 30th. But yeah, like we're that much closer to just calling that test practice 1 and 2, which it honestly should be at this point. But other than that, the schedule is status quo. Nate, what are your thoughts on this 2027 schedule, spring schedule that we've gotten so far?
I mean, the first half of the calendar has been pretty similar. I feel like in recent years, obviously with the addition of Arlington and Phoenix kind of being thereabouts since I think its return in 2017, 2018 around then. It's the 8 tracks that are going to produce hopefully some banger races. I mean, we've seen it in the past couple of years. Phoenix, I'm so glad that they're bringing back because that's always a race that I looked forward to, and having it back with the NASCAR doubleheader this season was incredibly cool as well. But I mean, there no notes. That is exactly what I would have wanted to see from the first 8 races of the season.
I mean, yeah, I think the changeup that we did going into this year for the schedule, I think, is spot on. It was a great announcement of the first 8 races because it's a great first half of the calendar. The only thing I would try, I mean, I would maybe get greedy in April and try and add like Homestead into there or something, looking towards the future. But I think it's a pretty spot on the money first 8 races to have. But what it kind of leads into, and this is where I'll start on Portland. Um, I think it's a good segue to go from the schedule to Portland because there's a lot of talk about Portland this weekend in the fact that we don't know if that race will come back next season. I think a lot of the media, a lot of people kind of had that feeling going into this year that, well, this might be the final go at Portland. This might be it because um, again, don't know anything for certain, but if the rumors and speculation uh, actually happens, then Portland will probably get a NASCAR date. And whenever IndyCar can get the wheels off the ground to go to Denver or anywhere else in the Pacific Northwest, then we will ditch Portland. A lot of talk on the Twitters, on the X, about Portland being a bad race and a bad track. Got a text from Nate over the weekend that he hated the festival curves at Portland, which I think is ridiculous. So I don't know, Nate, what do you think before we get into the actual like logistics of what this calendar would look like? How do you feel about not having Portland? 'Cause-
It
Yeah.
I like the race. I think it's produced good racing before. It's a cool track. I I don't know. I fear that like whenever I see Formula One and the amount of street races we're going to on that calendar, and we're kind of seeing it now with Arlington, with DC, not including St. Pete and Long Beach because those are the Monacos and the Singapores of the IndyCar calendar. Those are mainstays. Those are the
Yep.
ones we look forward to. Portland, I don't want to see go. I don't want it to be one of those tracks that like we used to race in Formula One that we don't anymore in place of the Madrid ring of all things. Like it's a cool track. It's a bull ring. I love to see it. David described it as American Monza, if you want to agree with that or not, but it does have its similarities. As stupid as the turn one curbing is, that I don't want to see it go.
Yeah. I did after like watching the race back, obviously I mentioned how busy I was over the weekend, but I did watch the race back and I do understand what you're saying. Because I am a person, like the there's the sentiment of why would they put pavement there if you can't go there? But also at the same time, if there's a curb there, like, dude, enforce track limits. Like, why are we getting that close to the wall in turn one? And if you like the really cool shot of them getting really close to the wall and you don't want to enforce track limits, just move the wall. Why are we going four wheels under the curbs? It looks dumb. I have the same problem with Arlington. Whoever painted the curbs at that track needs to never paint the curbs again. He needs to be fired. Get him out of here. Like, yeah, I think it's 2026. Like, how hard is it to just enforce track limits? But yeah, the David Land, I was getting the text all weekend. He really, I'll ask him about it next Tuesday, but he really enjoyed his time in Portland. It's the one track on the calendar that I've never gotten to go to. I think it's like I'm down to Portland, I guess Markham now, but I never went to Toronto. I'm down to like Portland, Toronto, and Laguna, and then Long Beach are like the ones I've never been to. So I've never made it to Portland, unfortunately, but David loved it in his first time going. The Monza comparison is a little crazy, but I do see it. That track is interesting because it's owned by the city. It's owned by the town. It's like a publicly owned racetrack, which is crazy. And I agree. I wouldn't like to see it go. I think honestly, like the mindset of if we get Denver or any track in that region, which Denver and Portland, Oregon are two completely separate places on the map, right? Like nobody in Portland, Oregon is going like, oh, well, it's a shame that we lost our IndyCar race. I guess I'll just drive to Denver. No, nobody's doing that. It's too far away, completely different market to where both can exist. And then we can have 18 races on the calendar, as crazy as that sounds. I think Portland should stay. And the race wasn't that bad. The argument that we didn't have any like on track passes for the lead, I think can go for a lot of racetracks, and it's not just a Portland thing, right? Like, I think the track race is good. We've had a lot of moments there over the years. David did a great job in his first video of the weekend. If you go back and watch that, in the first 5 minutes of explaining kind of the history of the track, and just kind of like circling in on some moments at Portland over the years. I don't think it's a place that should go. But if we look at the calendar before we get into the actual race, if you look at the calendar of how it is now and the calendar that's left to be announced, granted, while we're in this 5-week stretch and how this is going, Nate, how do you kind of feel that the schedule should go for 2027 in the fall? And if we do or don't get rid of Portland, like where would you see the events falling the best?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the second half of the schedule, at least for IndyCar, has kind of been the experimental side of things the past
Yeah.
couple of seasons and trying out new races and just putting them there. But I don't know. I think there's a lot of tracks in the United States that we could be experimenting with. Obviously, I'm and myself probably a decent amount of the fan base would love to see Watkins Glen come back.
Yeah.
I think that would be a better addition to the calendar than some of the races, a couple of the races we have now. I like Laguna Seca. It as a season finale, not the first time it's been said, not my favorite because it's a bit of a difficult place to pass with minimal opportunities there and just a little bit of tight confines for IndyCar nowadays. But I mean, there's not a wish list of things for me of what I want from the second half. I think it would be cool to see a rotation of tracks
Yeah.
throughout the next couple of seasons to try and figure out what tracks work, what tracks don't, and yeah, not like specific. I want to go here. I want to go to Summit Point. I want all of these. Just rotate them out. Have something cool. Do the same thing that like Formula One did 10 or so years ago with changing the first couple of races of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, experimental, but we still do that rotation crap in F1 though, where it's like, yeah, we're not going to go to Belgium this year. We're going to swap them out. They've been doing this every other year contracts, which is crazy. I like your point on Watkins Glen, and I actually think it's we can spend forever on this conversation, but I always think the conversation of what tracks could IndyCar not go to or go to is fascinating. Um, so what are some tracks like Watkins Glen is a great one. I actually was thinking about this the other day. I like a lot of people like bringing up Lime Rock, and I'm like, no.
No.
Everyone loves bringing up Road Atlanta, which would be freaking sick. But the changes they'd have to make. I mean, like honestly, hear me out. If you added a safer wall in the S's, like if you just put a safer barrier in there, F1 style, like you could do it. Um, you could do it very easily with a bunch of like if you just the problem is that's a track where like NASCAR would have to pony up the money to do that, and they're not going to pony up all that money to bring IndyCar in, right? Like,
Yeah.
so that's a bit, uh, that's a shame. Um, I like Laguna Seca on the calendar. I will say, I think a lot of the races there of the last couple seasons have been overlooked. There was that one really stupid one in like 2023 that I remember. It might have been 24, but the one where like Elio spun out of nowhere and they were all crashing coming to the green flag. That one was crazy. It just doesn't work. The reason why it doesn't work as a season finale, the reason why Fontana didn't work as a season finale, in my opinion, like any of these races they try to do on the West Coast is like, we can try and build like those events should be trying to build our fan base out there, right? But we have to be very honest with ourselves and saying, um, we are a Midwest sport. Like we are like as much as the joke is, this is still a within 465 sport. Like that's where we are. And if you, I think the that's why Nashville worked out so well is because like if you give the people within 465 an opportunity to go to the season finale, I think that's a win. I think I think people will show up. I think people you like just give them the opportunity like we were doing in Nashville to let the IndyCar fans within 465 go down there. To where you could attend the Indy 500 and the season finale in the same year without spending an arm and a leg on a you know on a plane. Like I think that's a no brainer. I don't think we get enough fans at Monterey. Unfortunately, I think that race has a lot of great. It does a lot of good for the sponsors and like the hospitality units, but the fans there, they just hasn't been the turnout we've wanted. But yeah, what are some tracks? I mean, like, man, I wish Pikes Peak, the oval, was still a track. There's been a
Yeah.
lot of conversations about Richmond. And I'm getting kind of scattered here, but you look at the schedule for next season, and like we probably don't have the Freedom 250 again. So I say, in my opinion, to back off the coattails of what you said, we should just Boston GP that thing and go to Watkins Glen. Because I think we all forget that Watkins Glen was the Boston GP that didn't happen. Remember? So we should just take that race and put it over here. I'd love to see. This is a controversial take. Everybody hates this one. I'd love to see Pocono come back. I
Yeah.
think that could actually happen. So I don't know. What do you? Any more tracks in the U.S.?
I mean, Pocono, obviously, yeah, it's sick. In the same vein that you want Michigan back, is like we have one super speed. I'm not counting Nashville. We have
Mhm.
one super speedway race a year with the Indy 500, and there's a reason that race gets so many viewers. Obviously, the history of it, but it's also really good racing.
Yeah.
And if you have a good package on that, then bring it to other tracks, showcase the best of your sport. It I mean, obviously, it's had two very scary incidents there in the past 15 or so years that have left a very bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and rightfully so. It's a dangerous track, dangerous sport, though. I mean, I think with the safety improvements for the IR28, they could
Yeah.
maybe look at doing that again.
I think a lot of people point at the patch fixing that they did to the catch fence in 2018 after the wreck.
Yeah.
Which I mean that race, like given that level of repairs on the fence, like we probably shouldn't have gone racing. But like that's also an IndyCar call. Uh I think I think if you just space out the starts a little bit better, it's not an unsafe track. It's not a. I think it's actually it's a good place for us to race. It's very very challenging, but yeah, if you just space out the starts, bring back the three wide starts where we go green and turn three, I think guys on the first lap of the restarts won't be as uh, it won't be as chaotic going into the tunnel turn. So I don't think it's an unsafe track. I think we might have just handled the way we raced there a little bit wrong, honestly, um, and not like placing any blame on any of the drivers. It's just like when you put them in a situation to go for it on the first lap when they're all packed together instead of letting them spread out in the start, like it's going to happen. You have to. A part of their like race directing and like a series role is to protect the drivers from themselves, right? Like it's not like any of them are doing anything wrong. It's just like if we spaced them out a bit better, it'd be a better race. And it is a funny point that like the IR28 has that oval kit, and we pretty much that's the Indy 500 kit. Why do we have an aero kit that runs one race? Like, let's go to Michigan. But we could beat that dead horse for hours. Nate, I'll let you talk about Portland as a race because I watched the extended highlights. I went through it because I was in Cincinnati. You were working, but you were working from home. So I imagine you were watching a bit, paying a little bit more attention or seeing the race at least. So just what are your takeaways from Portland?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, working a little bit remote is the same race as you, so missed out a little bit on kind of three-quarters mark and thereon. But I, it really sucks when a race doesn't fully perform on a year where there's a lot of speculation
Yeah.
about it not coming back, because it's not that doesn't help race fans, that not at all. I think the some drivers complained there wasn't enough tire deg, and that kind of made racing a little bit not as great as it's been the past couple of years. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, it's not it was a little bit boring, and obviously Alex Palou doing Alex Palou things, being up front, no passes for the lead. It's gonna happen. You're gonna it's gonna be a little boring for
Mhm.
that one, but it's still not a reason to take it off the calendar, not a reason to discount it at all. It was a race from this season. It's not going to be one you're going to write home about, but uh, it was a race, is what it was.
Yeah. I think whenever there's a race marked as the rumors and speculation of it going away or not, and there's surprisingly a lot of people on social media who are very against Portland when it doesn't have the greatest race. This happens in NASCAR too, like a lot, where it's like if one race underperforms, like let's just banish it from the calendar. Like I don't know, like IndyCar road course racing hasn't been the greatest in general. So like, and when it was great, it's say like you go back and watch 2018 Portland, 2019, like it was a great race. It's a great track for IndyCar racing, honestly. And I think a part that needs to be said about Alex Palou doing Alex Palou things is the problem. The problem is like everybody, I think at this point, enjoys watching great drivers do great things. The problem with Alex Palou, I love the guy. He does it so like it's so boring more times than not. It's never like Alex Palou. Like look at Kiffin Simpson's pass. Imagine if that was Palou for the win. Nobody would be complaining about him winning like his eighth race of the year, right? Like it's because like he will not qualify pole as he did this race. And then he will just overall pass somebody in the pit lane and just run an overall like quicker race on strategy or on like pace. But it won't be like a on track pass for the win. He'll pass him by pitting a little bit later um, and then just running quicker laps in clean air. And then he'll take the win. Like it's just, man, he's so good at being so consistent and so perfect. But it's like perfect Palou is just like it's never on track. It's always in the pits. Like that. I think that's where the complaining from fans comes from. It's not like I think if Palou was winning every race and it was like in fantastic fashion, which sometimes it is, I won't discredit that. Like there's been a few wins of Palou's where it's been like, holy shit, he earned that. Like which I mean, not saying he didn't earn it at Portland, but like, you can put the highlight reel up and everyone's not complaining about a boring win, if that makes sense. It's just always Palou and Barry Wanzer just being absolute geniuses. Palou running absolutely perfect laps in clean air, never making a mistake. And yeah, that's where it happens, man. Like, that's where all the complaining comes from. The only thing in that race that could have made something happen is there was obviously a lot of complaints about Stingray Robb after the race with Will Power coming into the pit lane on his in lap. James Hinchcliffe was pissed on the broadcast. That was I was expecting someone to say something about James being that angry on the call. You can tell he's a driver, man. Like he's sitting in Will Power's cockpit in that moment and pretty much blurting out exactly how he would feel in that moment if he was Will Power. Like, because granted, like by the IndyCar rules, Stingray was not a lap down yet, so he has absolutely the right to say no. I don't want to go a lap down, even though like because he probably didn't know that was Will's in lap, right? Like, but yeah, that was a tough look for Stingray. And when you look back at it, like what was it, 7 seconds was the difference for Will? Like probably maybe would have been second, maybe would have jumped Felix, but like no, he wasn't passing Palou for the win or getting ahead in the pit lane. But yeah, I mean, what are your thoughts on Palou dominance, Nate, before we go into some of the guys who did well?
I think, and I'm gonna put this out here because I've said it to you, I've said it to a couple of our friends when he came in to the series in 2020 around that time, I
Yep,
think it was
2020.
and he
He was with Team Go and Dale Quinn Racing.
it was he came in with an impressive junior formula, an impressive season in super formula, and I said to my friends at the time, he is going to win championships, and no one believed me. And the next race after I said that was Texas, and he crashed the freaking car. And it's like, look at you. And I'm sitting here. A little bit of this is like I'm right, and I
Yeah,
got proven right. So there's a little bit of enjoyment in that whenever he wins, but it's our friend Riley says this all the time was it's great to watch the greats do what they do best, do great things out there. And I think it's a good point of it's usually always in the pit lane that it kind of makes it a little bit boring. If you can just have that like one pass for the lead in those
yeah,
races, then most of the time it will redeem it. Because if you looking at the rest of the season, there's a lot of races uh, that you can look back to and you see the winner and your mind immediately goes to that pass for the lead. It's like, oh, that was a good race because Lundgaard went around the outside of David and it was like, oh, that was sick, as opposed to he got on strategy again. So
yeah,
it's unfortunate that for the viewer at least that Palou is so clinical and that the Chip Ganassi squad are so good at what they
yeah,
do. But that's when you market a series that any driver can win and the best driver will win. The best driver is going to win.
yeah, yeah. Man, Alex Palou is just so damn good. It just, I think the thing that needs to happen is that somebody just needs to get on his level. Which I mean, Kyle Kirkwood and David Malukas, who are the two contenders in the championship alongside of him, just haven't been that for a couple of weeks now. And I really wish Kirkwood could get there because I really at some point want to see Alex Palou, which maybe we'll get this with the new car when everything kind of gets equaled out a little bit when everyone gets a new car and something new to try and be better at. I want to see Alex Palou go head to head with somebody. I want to see, and I've said this before. I'm a little bit surprised that he doesn't get roughed up a little bit more. Like I know this isn't NASCAR where like you're in a true contact sport, but like man, like there's been so many times over the last 3 seasons where it's like Palou's either past somebody exiting the pits or like where it's like nobody has even dared like watch like Kiffin and Lundgaard go at it this weekend where Kiffin like gives him a little wheel like Palou has almost had no contact in the sport really in the last 3 seasons and really nothing. It doesn't even have to be intentional, but it's like, man, there's a lot of times where he's racing wheel to wheel that I'm like, how is nobody even just like giving him like running him out of room a little bit or like making it really hard because he's him, right? I think it's a testament to how respectful of a racer he is, right? To still be that dominant and get that much respect. But like, I want to see him go head to head with somebody. I want to see, because I think Alex Palou has no problem in being the villain, being like going head to head with somebody. Because we've seen it before, like when races don't go his way and he's still getting out of the car, like kind of with a cheeky smile, like he knows he's okay. He knows he's going to go win the next race. Like, I want to see that like so bad. And I think a lot of other people in the sport and fans feel the same way. Like, I want to see it. So I'm really hoping that somebody, whether it's in the new car or even next season, can kind of rise up and get to his level. A couple drivers who had really solid results this weekend. I want to shout out Andretti Global, Power third, Kirkwood fifth, and Ericsson sixth. All cars in the top 10. Got really close, all in the top 5. Marcus Ericsson he made a pass for second early in the race and then had an issue exiting pit lane, resulted in a 6th place finish. He's been knocking on the door all year. I'm excited to see what he can do these next 2 weekends on street courses, because he's going to be in the Andretti street course package, and then obviously Milwaukee is an oval should be strong for Marcus, so keep an eye out on him. He's getting hot at the right time. Rinus VeeKay finished 4th, another great result on a permanent road course, and again helps his chances for getting signed. And David put out a video that I need to watch, because it might have been spurred by me saying something in the group, because to me, Rinus VeeKay has checked all of the boxes to get signed by a big 3 team for multiple years in his career. And it's like, what's wrong with him? Like, there's got to be something that we can't see at this point to finish 4th in a Junko's car. And you go back and watch Mid-Ohio, like, he probably should have won that race if his last pit stop was a bit faster. Like, come on, man. Like, what does he need to do? He's the most like experienced, I think maybe not well-rounded, because he's won 1 race. So like, it's not like Lundgaard, where he's won multiple races this year and maybe is a bit more polished, like to be a championship contender. But I mean, like, man, like when I look back at Chip Ganassi Racing in that 9 car, a seat that's open, I look at some of Chip's choices over the years. Like, I mean, Felix got 2 seasons until he said no. Ed Jones got a chance. Like, why aren't we talking about Rinus getting a chance? I don't know. How do you feel about Rinus, Nate?
I mean, it seems like whenever Rinus over these past couple of seasons has like, oh, he has a good performance, there's always like another prospect that's like
Yeah.
kind of just like a little bit of a safer choice for these teams, and that being Lundgaard. But it's like Rinus is 10th in points in that
Yeah.
car. He's in front of Power and Dixon in the point. That's crazy. In that car it's again, like we were saying earlier, you'd be crazy, like with Grosjean, you'd be crazy not to think about putting VeeKay in your car for next season. And if he does lose out on the 9 car, would be a shame. But I mean, it's tough for him. It's one of those situations you see a lot overseas, and especially in Formula One, of like reserve drivers when they've been showing some really good results, either in the pace, I should say, in sim, or results in other series, and then another prospect comes up and it's just that safer pick that they go with them, and you kind of get overlooked. It's unfortunate, and yeah, you have to think if it keeps going in this direction for Rinus over the past couple of seasons, that it might be starting to look other places than IndyCar, which would be a shame, because he's an incredible talent. I love having him in this series and being able to showcase him as a driver. But yeah, I really want a team to take a chance on him.
Yeah. Like, he at least deserves, in my opinion, like the Ed Jones, like, all right, you have a season in a Ganassi car. Like, so at least when you look back on his career, it's like, well, at least, I mean, he had a shot to be this far along in his career, and he's still really young, to be this far along in his career and have never had a season with a top 3 team. Like, he got kind of trapped there at Carpenter Racing. It felt like he had a home. And there were rumors at one point that he was going to go to Penske. There were rumors at one point he was going to, he was in the being talked about going to Andretti or Ganassi. Like he was right there in those conversations, but it's never really materialized. I'm going to keep going here. McLaughlin, 7th, Newgarden, 8th. I had a few conversations earlier this year about Newgarden being an oval merchant. The guy is on 4 straight road course top 10s with 1 foot. So I mean, I started talking shit and he took that personally. That the shout out Joseph Newgarden on a good string of runs there with 1 foot. Unbelievable, really, honestly. And then Kiff Dog got a top 10 this week. Was in the fast, I believe he's in the fast 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got in the fast 6, got a top 10. Probably should have had a better finish, but Kiff Dog has not had the season that we've wanted from him, honestly. Like I thought he was going to get like 1 win. That was going to come out of nowhere. Still could happen, but like, yeah, it just hasn't been the season. It's almost like, I mean, he's in his 3rd year, but it's almost like he had a little bit of like a sophomore slump after last year, because last year was a really good year, I think, for the Kiff Dog. But yeah, 10th isn't bad. I want to circle back before I go over Markham, because I thought about this when you were talking about your point on reserve drivers. And I should have mentioned this earlier when I was talking about Marcus Ericsson, but I had a thought bubble come up in the fact that they've signed Marcus Ericsson for 1 year. And when you look at Andretti Global as a team, why would they do that? Well, remember reserve drivers, Colton Herta, it has just recently been talked about that his Cadillac F1 dreams seem to have shut. He's had a pretty rough year in F2. And I thought there was a part of me that thought that they were going to send him to the F1 squad regardless. Because like the transfer there, like probably isn't, but there's something that they, just according to the rumors, there's something that they might have seen that they just said, can't do this. So I would say that Colton Herta is probably set to rejoin us in IndyCar, probably by 2028. If I was Andretti Global and you have this decision early, like if you don't want to do a season 2 of F2 next year, or even if he does a season 2 of F2, once you get the moment you receive your IR 28 and you have testing time, make Colton Herta your test driver. I think that you should, like make that decision on Colton early and then make his landing pad for coming back to the IndyCar Series in 2028. Because then you have a whole year of Colton just getting to focus on the IR 28, getting that car up to speed. And then obviously with Marcus only being, I mean, you have your options, because I would reckon that Will Power could be a free agent after next year. And also he's probably thinking about retiring. I think he said, though, that he wants at least 1 season with the new car before he retires. He wants to drive something other than the DW12 again in IndyCar. So Will has aspirations of doing that. But yeah, I would be remiss if I didn't at least bring up that thought I had as you were talking about reserve drivers. Is like, they signed Marcus to a 1-year deal and Colton Herta. And I think that's probably at least the reason why it seems like the Dennis Hauger relationship is split. Because I think they're like next man up rather than Dennis Hauger seems to be the return of Colton Herta. That's an interesting thought. Just had to bring that up. Now, Markham. This is going to be a fun one. If you haven't seen the layout yet from any of the sim videos, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be interesting. I think the first 3 corners, that little chicane section, could lead to some disaster, but it's going to be a cool onboard. Nate, what are your thoughts going into Markham?
I mean, I watched the Honda and Willpower on board, and just it gives vibes of, in some places, the Nashville street circuit we had, and the other side of me is like, this is straight up a Formula E track in some places. Like it's a brand new track, obviously, for all these teams and drivers, so it's gonna bring with that the unpredictability that you always see with these races. But I mean, looking at the track, especially the turn five, the hairpin when they're on the highway, then they circle back, which is just like a Hanoi street circuit corner. That's just gonna be
Yeah,
interesting.
the 180 that turns
Yeah.
into more like a
Yep.
360 corner. Yeah.
hmm That and
But
then that going into the long run into turn six. I hope it's good because I going to Toronto is always a race that I even like not following IndyCar incredibly closely over the past couple years, always a race that I wanted to watch.
was
So
it
I
really?
hope it was. I don't know what it is. Like street circuits with IndyCar, I try to mark my calendar to watch those in the past, especially I think honestly what it was the like a video of the last couple laps of Sao Paulo
Oh yeah, yeah,
when Hinch won that race. I'm like, all right, this is sick.
yeah.
That really got me on street courses with IndyCar. But yeah.
They tend to be the most entertaining. Like I
hmm
think the natural terrain probably ends up being, unfortunately, if you're not as like in tune with strategy and everything. Like if you're not like a natural terrain road course is so tricky because you have to be in tune and like in log with the strategy and what lap specifically guys pit and like to make it entertaining for yourself. Whereas like a street course, like you tend to get more of like the random yellows that flip everything upside down. And honestly, like as we saw in Arlington, you get a bit more last lap passes and like close finishes. Um, in the end, I think it's interesting that you marked Toronto because I do have to mention like the first time heading to Markham here, it is bittersweet because for so many years, a lot of the media have been talking about it this way. And granted, a lot of the media aren't showing up because we're going to there's a lot of people going to Laguna Seca this weekend, but a lot of people have mentioned how bittersweet it is. Even Scott Dixon mentioned not going to Exhibition Place, which is very sad. Like that was a staple on our calendar. But I also kind of felt like in the same vein, it was a race when we had it in the middle of July that almost just kind of happened. You know, like I feel like Toronto would always just come and go. Whether it was, just a weekend where I was busy and I would never see it. It's kind of the same way I felt about the NASCAR race at Iowa the last couple of years. Cause it's like, I don't know what's happening, but like, I feel like that race specifically is like, granted, it has a sold out crowd. It's one of those races for me personally that felt like it like came and went. I didn't watch it live on TV because I wasn't home. Like I saw like just a little bit of stuff for it on social media. It wasn't like blowing up my feeds, but like it just kind of happened. Um, that's kind of how Toronto felt like for me. But Toronto, low key, was a good race. There was the one year where Pelot had a damaged front wing, and he might have still won that. Colton Herta won a race here. Didn't like Pato win this thing last year or something? I'm actually gonna look this up. I can't sound. I gotta have I gotta have this knowledge. But like I don't know that track layout for Toronto. Yeah, Pato won last year. See, it was the same race that Lundgaard won in 24. Like, I am right about that. Yeah, Pato won this race last year. See, you didn't even remember. I saw that look in your face. Sorry, audio viewers. Pato won this race last year, and then Herta won in 24. Like we were on a string of races of Dixon Lundgaard Herta award, and this is actually Exhibition Place. Right there was one of the races that Alex Palou hasn't been able to win at. So like, yeah, it's bittersweet, honestly. The whole like final sector around the where you'd have like it was like the second to last corner that had the drain that everyone would go over and you could like watch their hands just like snap. It's pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for Markham. That first, I'm telling you that you talked about the 360 hairpin, but I think the first three corner chicane is going to be that's going to be something. That's going to be crazy. One mistake there, and then we're going to be in for an internet moment, I think. But yeah, it's Predictions for this one are pretty hard, honestly. The easy pick would be Alex Palou, but Nate, I'll let you be the first. Who do you think is going to win this weekend?
Not Alex Rossi because I think he has an engine penalty, but
Yep.
you kind of look at Kirkwood and he's been impressive on the street circuits over the past couple seasons. It would be remiss not to put him and I mean even Will Power
hmm
on that list as well. Arrow McLaren have gone well on
hmm
the street circuits as well, especially in the hands of Pato O'Ward. I in just to not come on here and my first prediction be Alex Palou. Not to be that guy. I think I would probably put Kirkwood as as my thought for that.
Yeah, I would like him to. I would like to see him get a second win this season. I think that'd be cool. I do. I like the pick of the Andretti cars. I would like to see Will Power get a win by the end of the season. My pick, I think, is Felix Rosenquist on the street course. I think especially the pace he showed at Portland. He's been able, even in the races he hasn't had pace, to find his way back to the front. Um, and I think it'd be cool for Felix to cap off his career with Meyershank Racing in the season that they won the Indianapolis 500 with finally getting that monkey off their backs and getting a win on the road course. So we'll see my predictions next week, but he is also a guy I have in mind for Washington, same as Will Power. And that's mainly because I don't think I think Felix is knocking on the door of a road course win with Shank. And it's just hard to believe that Will Power is going to go winless this year. Like those are the two things kind of crossing my mind. Um, but yeah, we'll see. It's probably the most open that it's been. Um, like because of the new circuits of here in Washington, this is where it gets interesting. And then it feels like the nightcap is going to be the doubleheader in Milwaukee. Like that, we know what to expect there because it's happened before, and it's a nice short oval. It's easy. It's just and it's comforting too. You just get like a nice little nightcap. But yeah, final thoughts on Markham. Final thoughts before we sign off here, Nate. It's been real. A nice pre-recorded episode of Unverified on a Thursday. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, I mean the next couple of races are I'm probably the most excited I've been, bar Indy 500 for IndyCar races, just with the unknowns that we'll be going into with Markham, with Washington D.C. Uh, Markham obviously having a little bit more of a interesting layout than Washington D.C. But I'm looking forward to it, man. And like you said, with the turns 1 and 2, it's a very like Belle Isle start to the lap through there, and going through there in anger for the first time on the start is gonna get a little feisty through there. But I'm excited to wrap up the season. Not to like say, oh, IndyCar's done, but like for the stretch that we're about to have to finish off the season, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we just get one big finale here with the 4 week stretch of 5 races. Uh, I think, I think I'm getting. I will say right before we sign off, because this could be a fun closer. Um, Apparently, so at the track right now, Thursday at noon is around the time when we would be getting track walks happening from the teams and the drivers. And the word from the racetrack currently, now, again, this being recorded at 2 p.m. I didn't want to say this earlier because this being recorded at 2 p.m. on Thursday, we could finish this episode could be up at 5 and things could have changed. But be in a lookout on social media for updates on the news, because currently in Markham, the track walk has been indefinitely delayed for the track still being built. Yeah. So I got a text about that, and then I just got a second text, so that tells me it's real. So be on the lookout on social media for that. Again, by the time this goes up at 5 p.m., things could have changed, but yeah, that could be the fun, exciting start to our weekend. We'll see. Outside of that, thank you to Nate for being on this episode of Unverified, episode 62. Be sure to follow him on his social channels. I'll leave those in the description of this, as well as make sure you check out my YouTube channel and all of my social media platforms. Big news this week. I will be live for the Markham race on my YouTube channel. We'll be doing a watch along. I'm not going to quite have all of the things ready, like for the actual broadcast that I would want, I'm hoping to do in the future. But I'm hoping to just kind of log in and go live, maybe have some type of timing and scoring on the screen, and do a watch along. I haven't really had the time to make a YouTube video since the True Sports one went up. And I want to get back to making some content on my channel. So I feel like that's a good way to kind of just feed in kind of just a live thoughts and watch along. Hopefully you guys can make it in the chat, and we can have a good time and watch some IndyCar racing from Canada. So yeah, that'll do it. Hopefully we're back next Tuesday live at 8 p.m. and we'll see you on the next show. Thank you guys so much for watching yet another episode of Unverified. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and be on the lookout for more content on the Unverified YouTube channel, as well as all of our other social media platforms on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Unverified_show. As always, this is Kyle Cuthbertson. Thank you for watching Unverified, and we'll see you in the next show.